All right, we're on air. Today is Thursday, June 20th, and this meeting is to check in on design and usability tasks for Backdrop CMS. On the agenda, we have a couple of things on backdropcms.org that need attention. The first one, number 422, is our sandbox demo, which is up, which is great. But the follow-up tasks from that were around cleaning up the try backdrop page, which is now linked from the homepage. We want to make it look a little cleaner, just with things like logos being consistently transparent and consistently vertically centered, and with some text in the right places. I tried to find transparent versions of the DDEV and whatever the other logo was, and I couldn't just by doing an image search. So that's probably going to require somebody reaching out to those organizations, or maybe looking at their websites to see if they have a press kit page or something. Hey, Jingly dog. Okay. Sorry, I don't know if you could hear me or not. I couldn't hear myself because. Okay, good. My dog's collar was so jingly.
It was distracting, but it was okay.
Okay. And so we'll just need to figure out where to source those logos from. I agree. It would be better if they were all transparent, and vertically centering things in CSS is hard. I also noticed that when I launched the page, but I was like, close enough for now. We'll fix it later. And so now it's later and we need to fix that. But yeah, we can do that with a pseudo element, I think. And then I don't actually have a link.
I think that I might be able to create those transparent logos. It's easy to make them transparent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Also, so I've noticed this being a recurring trend is that whenever I want to use a logo, and I have a lot of websites that have like a logo field, everybody's using SVGs now for logos, yes. But Backdrop doesn't allow image SVG handling. So I tried to create a file field in Core where we could upload images just pretending they're files, and then a special wrapper that wrapped them in like an image tag. But I think, and I might make that into a contrib module that's just a SVG field type. Yep. But there is a core issue for that where everybody's talking about how to get SVGs working as an image with image handling.
This is coming up more often in the queue that we have for GovCMS. So it's a general Drupal lack of supporting SVGs, and that's both D7 and D8.
Yeah.
There is a contrib module that has a field. There's a problem. There's a few problems. One of them is that the .svg extension needs to be added to the allowed extensions for images. That's one. Yeah. But then uploading an SVG field does not generate a thumbnail for SVGs, which is the second bit. That's as much as I can remember now, but these are the basic ones.
So it sounds like that module extends the image field. I was thinking of extending the file field so that you would get away. There's also issues of like validation. Like if you put in minimum, maximum dimensions, it tries to validate the size on an SVG, which it doesn't need to do. Sure. And so like there's a bunch of stuff that fails using the normal image thing. But yeah, I'll take a look at that module and see.
Yeah, I think natively supporting it is like it's time that people start using it because there's better browser support for it now.
Yeah. So that was a fun tangent, but
yeah.
Okay. Improving the user experience for modules, themes, and layouts pages. So I have a branch. I think I pushed it up. Where I've been doing all of the work on the redoing of the modules, themes, and layouts pages. The initial work just replaces the field view with a view that uses a view mode, with a display that uses a view mode for projects instead of a field. And the project then will reference its like most recent releases, not through a views relationship, but as part of rendering the view mode. And so it made the view a little simpler so that I could do things like add different like sort order criteria, which was a little tricky before if we wanted to get like featured stuff in there. I also want to do something really clever where those pages are layouts, and on the left side, I wanted to have like the results of our normal search, and on the right side, I wanted to have results of other things that you'll need to know about while you're searching for modules. Like if you're searching for token module, you'll find an old maybe even you won't get the token one. But what I want to have come up on the sidebar is like upgrading from Drupal. Here's what you need to know about token module and backdrop. It's been moved into core, whatever. So people can get a list. And then at the bottom of that, I wanted to have like a more info thing. And in a perfect world, I don't know how we're going to get here. I want someone to be able to say like, these are the 18 modules I'm running on my site, put them in somehow, and then get a list of instructions on like how to handle all of the stuff that's either like printable or downloadable or referenceable via an external link or something. Because right now you have to look them all up one at a time. But yep. I don't know how to do that yet. So far I'm just trying to get the views results to show the token instructions when they search for a token module on this page.
Yeah, there might be things that we can automate, but I'm imagining that there will be a lot of manual stuff. So a recent mention was done for CK Editor as well, and how we don't have any migration, or should I say upgrade path, which I'm guessing that what needs to be done is find which database table holds that configuration in D7 and then port it over to config. Yeah.
Well, yes and no. I mean, so are you talking about CK Editor module from Drupal 7 contrib to Backdrop Core? Yeah. So the way that CK Editor handled setup in Drupal 7 was that they made you create like a profile, and then the profile had all of the stuff you wanted configured for CK Editor, and then you would just attach that profile to a text format. In Backdrop, all of those settings are part of the text format, and we don't have as many settings as were included in the profile. And so we need to do sort of a careful, like, look at the profile, pull out the things we want, add them to the text format the profile was attached to. But then I think it would also be good to like notify people, these are the settings that we don't have in Backdrop. And from their configuration. So we can tell like, okay, these are the things that you wanted that we don't have. And that way, if there is a contrib module, which I think people are working on now that would add back some of the features from Drupal 7, they would know, okay, here's the module I need to install, and these are the things I need to enable in it. But yeah, we have an issue for upgrade path for CK Editor specifically. It's going to take some work to figure out how to kind of untangle everything in Drupal 7 and match it to what we have in Backdrop.
The other thing is that we have the usage statistics now for modules, and there was a thing I forget to see how we have the 2 downloads, whatever, and then active installs, but there should be a link that says view usage statistics or something like that, the equivalent that we have in d.org that shows maybe a graph as well.
Like a Spark line or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really great. I think there is a Spark Lines module that would let us display those numbers as Spark Lines. So we should check that out. I also love the idea of showing like usage over time, like increasing. I think will be really meaningful for people. And then you have like a module that like CK Editor stopped getting used in 1.2, so it'd be like, like 0. Except for those really old 1.2 websites that are out there. Hopefully there aren't many. I think that would be great. The only problem is
it's a custom module, isn't it? Okay, sorry,
I don't think so. I think there is a contrib module for Sparklines, and then there might have been some custom integration done on Drupal.org. But I'm pretty sure there's a module. Oh, I hope it wasn't for Drupal 6.
No, I was referring to the blocks. They seem to be 2 different custom blocks for the downloads and the active installs there. So I thought that initially that it might be a single thing that spits out the usage stats, but it's not. It doesn't seem to be 2 different blocks.
On CMS.org or on Drupal?
Yes.
It comes from the I don't know. They're all fields on the project, but they're populated from different places. So one of them comes from the project usage module, and one of them comes from the project GitHub module. So like download counts come from GitHub, and usage comes from project module.
Okay, makes sense.
They all still end up on the project node. So I think all of our views are just like views of the project node, and the block is just a view, I think, that way. Or could be it's not a field, so I don't think it's a field block. But
yeah, then all we need is most likely just that a block that has a link to the usage thing, maybe the Spark thing.
Yeah. It's a good idea, though. Can you see if there's an issue? I don't think there is.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so on the website, we have an issue here for upgrade paths for modules and core. The issue that I have linked here is a documentation issue, but the reason it's on the design and usability meeting agenda is because I want to figure out how we can expose this information to people in a way that's meaningful. So right now we have one page that is like these 62 modules have been included in Backdrop Core. We could link each of those to its respective, like how to upgrade thing. But I also think it would be better to give people a place where they can specifically go to find information about upgrading a particular module. And I think having it appear on the modules page is a good starting point because that's where people are going to start looking for a module. But if they already know a module exists for Backdrop and they're only looking for upgrade instructions, it would be good to have a dedicated place for people to look for that too. So I don't know if this needs to be another issue or should just be part of the issue about creating, you know, all of the stuff we need on the site. We do need to figure out where that's going to go and how it's going to work.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that some of the module nodes that are created, we need a field like in core scenes or something like that. And it's twofold. So we have outdated README files on GitHub modules. For example, I was looking at the CK editor, and it was saying something along the lines that this will not be required when CK editor gets merged in, which has happened now. So we need maybe people like from the bug squad to update the READMEs of those things, because some people might end up directly on GitHub.
Yeah.
So this needs to be updated. And then on the b.org side, we need to make sure that the respective nodes for those modules mention that they've been merged, and B, whatever is being pulled for the browser, like the project browser, is that module is not required unless you have an older version of Backdrop. This is where I say. So
there is a field on the upgrade instructions node that, but I couldn't. I tried to make like a drop down, and then I realized that like sometimes it wasn't entirely included. So I want a different language in there, so now it's just a text field. But the way that it works with nodes on backdropcms.org, I agree that we need to update it for people who only go to GitHub. But on backdropcms.org, instead of getting the project node that has the download link, you get the placeholder node, which has the upgrade instructions. So all of the projects that were on backdropcms.org that have been moved into core have been unpublished, so that hopefully people won't find them on the site. They'll get the other ones instead.
Does that make it so that they are not included in the XML file that project browser pulls?
I think so. I'm pretty sure there's a publish flag in that list. I haven't looked at the XML, but it would make sense that that would already have been covered. I didn't try and do something sneaky. I just used publish unpublished because it's most likely to be integrated with everything else.
Yep. So for example, like people that are using Safe Draft, if that ends up in core, there might be quite a few sites using the contrib module. So we still want to show, I don't know, a version of it that sort of like, see how we said that there should be versions that have a dependency on system module, smaller or equals to. So for people that have not upgraded yet, they might still need the contrib version. So I don't know if we want to support that or if it becomes complicated.
They're on like they're running Backdrop 1.2 and they want CK Editor,
Yes.
which was in 1.3. I don't think we should support that via the UI. I don't think that should, like, I think if those kinds of people need to upgrade because there's going to be bugs and security issues and stuff. But if you have a use case that demands that you need to be running 1.2, you can definitely grab that project from GitHub. You can search in the contrib repo and get it that way. So I think unpublishing the nodes is fine. But
it makes sense with our what you call it support policy that we say 2 versions back. So
Okay, but cool. That's also something good to keep in mind, though, is that maybe we should not unpublish nodes for things that are in core until 2 versions after. But we can have, information about both of them appears, like here's your module, and then on the side it could be like included in core since, and then have all the since information there too. So as long as we get both of both
Yes.
pieces of information to people, I think that's fine for 2 releases. Okay, yay, upgrading. Next, we are going to talk about Backdrop, the product itself, and user experience improvement issues for that. The first issue here is number 3755, which is a planned new feature for Backdrop 114, which is the addition of a layout that you can configure to be as many rows and as many columns in each row as you want. Duck Woman has been working on this for a while. It is coming along really well. I think we need more reviewers. We need feedback on the design. We need feedback on the user experience. I think it can probably go in pretty soon, even without all of the reviews on stuff, because it's pretty close. It doesn't seem broken. It does. I think it's going to do the job. But it would be good to get more feedback on it. If there's anything that people find confusing about it, we want to try and address that. And then we have a set of follow-up issues that will make it even better that we are currently working on.
Yeah, the latest design related sort of like flaw or thing missing, if you like, was that I, for example, when I was reviewing, didn't understand that the drag and drop of the region of the rows was implemented, because the crosshair thing was showing over only over regions and not over the row, and there's no indication, like like there's no even line to say that this is a row or whatever. So this will need some design.
Yeah, I probably missed that too. I tested it recently and was like, "Is it draggable?" The box was checked, but I couldn't tell. That could have just been a UX thing. I think we should look at like Divi and some of these other tools that exist. I think Drupal 8 is working on a flexible template as well, and see how they handle moving rows and see what design elements they use for that. Because I think if we have something we can show Doc Lemma that's like, we want to look this way, he'll do that. But I don't know how to solve that problem, but I think it has been solved other places. We just need some inspiration.
Yep. In one of the designs, the mockups that I did, I just went with whatever we do with draggable tables, just added a crosshair to the left of the row.
Yeah.
To me, it made sense to me, but then people might get annoyed by that, like design-wise. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not a designer.
Yeah, it's a good start.
Yeah. User
experience first, design second.
Yeah.
More designers, we can make it better.
Yeah. And Doc Wilmot early on, I mean, a couple of weeks earlier, implemented that yellow color background color on hover, which at least sort of like signifies that you're over a row, and it includes the respective drop button. Yes, so you have some sort of indication at least. That's good.
Okay. And then the other issue we have here is promoted modules on the installer. This might be, since we're going to have to look at that feed that comes out of Backdrop CMS.org anyway, this might be a good time to see like exactly what query is being run in order to generate this list. We talked about putting the promoted ones at the top, so this is where the searching gets a little bit complicated, because right now we just match on relevancy. So like if I put in survey and web form has the word survey like 8 times, we want that to be at the top. But then if there's like another survey module that was promoted, if it doesn't have survey that same number of times, does it go above or below web form?
Maybe we shouldn't complicate things that much. And I think that one of the mockups said signifying those with a different background color. That will be enough. They don't have to bubble up to the,
Okay, good. That will make that project much simpler.
Instead of messing with the way that the query works, because it might be a lot of work to get it right.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking is that if we could set up 2 feeds, one for promoted modules and one for not. And then we could have the normal search results below and just always show like one promoted
Yes.
module for each search. And so that way it wouldn't push the regular results too far down, but it would be kind of like Google Ads where you do a search, but you never click the top one. And then for people who do need the one that's promoted, it's there. And I think that we aren't going to have that many, so that might be fine.
I think we have 1 or 2 currently.
Yeah.
And I think we decided that will be the number. Like, we don't want to get people there. It's basically comparing the same thing as D8 experimental modules, but without having the drawback of adding them to core and then removing them from core and causing the havoc. That
So just to clarify, a promoted module is one that we're encouraging people to use because it's
intended. It's intended for core inclusion.
Okay.
So we need more eyes, more people to test it, things like that, feedback.
So something like the Save as Draft module that we talked about, or reference as opposed to entity reference, or references, just stuff where it's like, this one we like, we want you to use this instead of entity reference, upgrade path included, something like that, that will help sort of steer more people towards the easiest path in the future. Rather than choosing something that's sort of
which was the same goal that D8 had, but D8 included those in core, and now there are actual, like, we're facing problems where things get removed, and it's like the developers didn't communicate to the site owners that that's a cool feature we're using now, but there is the risk of it being removed from core, and it did happen.
Yep.
And it did break things. So we have the benefit of having the project browser there. So instead of including the promoted modules within core, we just tell people which they are, and they make the decision.
Yep. Got it.
That's a little bit of a tricky issue because we have to update the feed that your site ingests when it's pulling in which modules are available, as well as the core in order to style them differently. Yeah. So I think right now we're blocked on the feed update part of it. We've got backedupcms.org has promoted modules. We don't have them in the feed, so we can't even update the site even if they're there. And so I think that's the trickiest part, because that is a custom SQL query. It's not a view or anything.
Yeah, I think that the facilities to support the promoted thing are there. Next step is getting the XML feed to work, and then it's consuming that and styling the thing in core in the project browser thing. That's it.
Yeah. All right, so if you're particularly interested in user experience, there are a bunch of issues specifically for the 1.13.3 release. There are also a ton of issues that aren't necessarily tagged for any individual release that are just to have the square UX brackets in the title. Moving on to design stuff, it looks like we only have one issue specifically related to design, and at some point, the basis theme ended up getting a hover color over the account links that needs to be removed. I think it was added because the account links didn't have any hover state at all, and that might have also been a mistake. I think they were supposed to have a text underline or something, but right now it's really confusing if you have only a few items in your main menu. Both of them act the same way, like the main menu. So we need to get that hover color off of there so that we can tell the difference between the links that are in the menu and the links that are the account links. So we have an issue for that, 3748. I'm not sure. I don't think that's going to be too terribly complicated. I think we just, find where the hover state is and remove it in the CSS. But we do want to make sure we do some testing with color module to make sure that because previously, color module would have changed that color if you'd colorized your theme. The generated CSS files will still have that hover. And so I'm not entirely sure how that'll work after we remove that from the CSS. We should just test a site that's been colorized, apply the patch, and see what happens. And then maybe save the form on the color form and see if it goes away. And then we might need to put a note in the upgrade update instructions when that goes into core that says, hover colors on your account links will be removed when this patch is applied if you've used the color module. So we could even test to see if color module is enabled or not. Although that doesn't really help because it's enabled by default. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to figure out something. I think it'd be really confusing if you weren't using it. and the announcement.
Oh, I thought he was here because I heard voices. He was just at lunch.
Okay.
So I expect him back.
So one thing that is related to the header and the Z index of the menu items, I started using this relatively new maintainer for Contrib that has created the navbar, ported over the navbar menu. And there was a point where he was stuck because the Z index of menus, the main nav in core, is preventing. So he's hit a roadblock where he cannot fix a thing. I'm not sure, like I didn't take a deeper look at it, but I think that we might need to fix that in core. So he tried to fix it, but he couldn't. So unless we come up with a solution, we might need to decrease. Yeah, so what happens is navbar now has drop-down menus, sort of like expandable menus, the same way that admin bar has, but when you hover over the point where there's
Both
main navigation links, yes, it disappears, so you can't go. So yeah, it's a usability issue. And he said that he tried everything, but he couldn't work around.
So that I think is part of the smart menus library that we're using. I don't think it's something that we are going to want to change in core. I think that problem can be solved. If he can't do it with CSS, it can be solved with JavaScript, where we can test the Z index of the current menu and then like make his n+1 so that it will come on top if that's what he needs. But I think if we're trying to dig too deep into like changing smart menus code, we're just going to end up really making that hard to maintain in the future. And we do have it super high because there are a bunch of other things that have high indexes. Like if you put in a embedded video or something, a lot of down menus go like behind the video, but we want to make sure it goes on top. If you have like a slider, we want to make sure it goes on top of that. So it's got to be really high to account for all of the other content on the page. And because navbar is an alternative to a solution that most people are going to be using, I think it's not going to be a majority concern. I don't think it's something that's worth changing core in order to support. But I do think we should figure out how it can be supported, because we don't want the stuff that's in core to like adversely affect Contrib. But I think it might need to be like a JavaScript-based solution, not CSS. Which
having said that, we do have like a small, like I think a couple of lines of customization that we've done to the vanilla smart menus thing just for Backdrop. And I tried, like there's a bug fix version of smart menus and then a minor one that got released. And I tried to upgrade ours, and because of the customizations that we have, things do break. And I was wondering, see how the previous to the previous security patch was related to JavaScript, and what they've done is instead of touching the library, they sort of like implemented like a hack over it.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if we can adopt the same method in order to be keeping, vanilla versions of whatever libraries we're using, but then overriding them externally. So yeah, at least we can sort of like drop in.
Yeah,
whatever
that would
library.
be good. Did you, when you were working on that, do we have like an ongoing keep smart menus very up-to-date issue? Okay, so that would be good to figure out what it was that we were trying to change. Like we should go look at the commit and figure out what the problem was we were trying to solve, because it could be that problem was solved in the latest version of smart menus too.
And we don't need that yet.
Yeah. And that would be ideal, is if we, can remove our overrides as time goes on instead of needing to add.
I tried to fiddle with it a bit, but my JavaScript skills are not that great. So yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Anything else we need to talk about design related? We're kind of out of time today because of our late start. And so I would prefer to go jump into the dev meeting.
Yep, dev meeting.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and wrap this, and we will see you guys in a moment.